welcome back to Ramadan Radio with my show Breaking Stereotypes on DAB 9B and Spotify, Facebook Live, Instagram, and most majority of the social platforms. Bear with me, I seem to be having some technical issues and I'm trying to get that sorted out. So my producer's going to have to come into the studio while he deals with that. So I'm going to crack on whilst my producer deals with my issue. Right. Can we start again? Right, we're going to start again. Okay. Welcome to Ramadan Radio, Breaking Stereotypes with your host, Zainab Zaeem. We will be live on DAB 9B, Facebook, YouTube, and then the show will be uploaded to Spotify and will remain on Facebook and YouTube for others to join in. So today's guest is a very young lady, well, a lot younger than I am, that's for sure, Layan Hassan, and she will introduce herself in a short while, but just so that everyone knows what the show is about tonight, is Layan was previously a former youth MP, and we'll go into that in a little while. So Layan, please introduce yourself and tell us who you are. Wow. A little bit breathtaking there, so I kind of lost what I needed to say. And for those who know me, that is a little bit difficult. Okay, so before we dive into the conversation that I'd like to have with you this evening, you mentioned that you are, and I also mentioned this, that you're a youth MP. Now, for those who are listening in, if there's a bit of a younger audience, MP meaning Member of Parliament. Brilliant. So I am going to touch upon that a little bit later. I don't want to go into that just yet because I'd like to build upon that. So you said that you're 18 and you're currently doing your A-levels. I'm going to take you a little bit back, a little bit further back than from your current situation. What did you actually want to be when you were growing up? Brilliant. So I am actually going to say something here. Being a doctor or a lawyer is the stereotypical Asian, Middle Eastern situation. But this wasn't coming from your family. This was you. You actually wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. What made you decide on the legal side as opposed to the medical side?
Praise Him all day.
I don't actually know if you know this, but I am a solicitor. I'm 5 years post-qualified, but I've been in the legal world a lot longer. I've been in the legal world for a very long time, and I've had my own challenges. But tonight's not about me. Tonight is about you. Okay, so we've gone from you wanting to be either a doctor or a lawyer, and absolutely, the legal system in the UK is not always able to deliver that justice or deliver that equality, and there are, there's no level playing field really, is there? So I'm glad that there are young people out there who are already thinking about this. So let's talk a little bit about you being a youth MP. So before you go into that, you mentioned that you've been part of council. Now, for those who are listening in, can you clarify what council you are referring to? Because when obviously we're talking to individuals, when we talk about council, they assume we're talking about local authority, which takes care of the individual areas and that. So when you're talking about council, please can you clarify who you are referring to? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the world does not revolve around us adults, and if adults want respect, then they have to give respect, and that includes including the younger generation. And like you said, you are the future. Absolutely. And we are shaping the younger generation to then take over. Well, I say take over, but literally take over essentially what was our roles. So you're a fellow northerner then. So I'm a Boltonian, I'm from Bolton, and Wigan's right round the corner. And when I was in high school, there was a lot of people from Wigan that used to, young people that used to come to our schools. But in terms of, this must be a new thing then, because growing up in the north back in the 90s, I don't recall there being anything like this. So this must be a new thing. How new is this concept of youth MPs and the local authority allowing younger generation to collaborate in this manner? Fantastic. Okay, so you're in. So how long were you in this local authority? Well, how long were you a youth MP? So 2 years. All right. Okay. How did you come across this role? Wow. So you actually have to go through I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. You're a 14-year-old. You're in high school. I mean, most 14, 15-year-olds I know that are in high school don't want to pry their eyes away from their phones and their iPads. And that includes my 15-year-old daughter. And I know she's not listening, so I can actually say this. And then I'll get the flack for it later on. But you're 14 years old. I know you're not now, but you were 14. You were in school. Your teacher mentions this. A little bit about that, because I am seriously interested, because I'm trying to picture 14-year-olds canvassing in neighborhoods. So can you tell me just a little bit more about exactly what kind of campaign did you run? Was it very similar to the elections that we have for adults, or was it a mini version?
Okay, I'll explain. It's a mini version, so it wasn't really canvassing because at the time, they didn't really let us do that. It was more so, it just created a campaign, anything that you're very, very passionate about. I did it on mental health and improving mental health services because I know that was, a massive issue and it still is, but unfortunately it's not spoken up. It's not spoken about much often. And what I did was I tried to connect with a lot of, senior decision makers, sit down with them and with local councils because they helped us form our campaign. I remember they were giving us advice and giving us tips. And they gave us these ballot papers. And I was going, speaking to students in my high school and I was like, vote for me, make sure you vote. And I was doing these assemblies. I was really, very passionate about it and influencing people to really vote for me. But unfortunately, at that time when I first ran, I didn't win and it was incredibly heartbreaking. I was crying and I was really, really heartbroken and sad.
So at the tender age of 14, you had your first rejection, shall we say? I mean,
Yes.
most people in their adulthood can't handle rejection, for various reasons. And here you were, tender age of 14. Okay, so then you tried again, what, at 16?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you tried again at 16. You've got a little bit more experience. You've been on the council as part of that local authority group for a little longer. So you've got some experience under your belt, and then you ran a second campaign, and alhamdulillah, you won in that second campaign. So
Yes.
you became a youth
alhamdulillah.
MP. So when you became a youth MP, and this is where I really, really want to know, did you go to Parliament to get sworn in?
No, I didn't get sworn in. It's quite different when you're a youth MP, because they don't let you go to Parliament. It was just like an annual yearly thing that they do as a youth MP. It's more kind of local led and it's just that annual Parliament meeting. But yeah, that was it, yeah.
But you were still classed as a member of Parliament, though, so you
Oh
could
yes,
stay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're still classed, yes.
Well, fantastic. It's a huge, huge title to have at such a young age. Okay.
Yes.
So one of the things I tend to get when people find out I'm a solicitor is, oh, you're a lawyer. Lawyers are liars. You can't do that job. Islam says you're not allowed to. And actually, this is something that me and my connections have debated tirelessly, because one of the fundamental principles of Islam is justice, equality, innocent until proven guilty, can't do anything without evidence, and so on. And the principles of Islam actually line up, or the values of Islam line up with what is supposed to be our justice in the UK, and hopefully majority of the countries, if not all of them around the world. But one of the many stereotypes I face regularly, as most recently as last week actually, is that lawyers are liars. And the same can be said for politicians, because at the end of the day, youth MP, regardless of whether you're youth or not, you're an MP, you're in politics. And a lot of politicians, and I'm not going to say, a politician's a liar because I don't know any of them personally, but a lot of the stuff or the conversations that they have to have, there's a spin on it. There's always a spin on it. And you never tend to get the actual story. How was that for you when, let's say, your friends or family were finding out that you were delving into the world of politics? What kind of support system did you have?
Very good question. I really like that actually.
obviously my family, my friends were extremely supportive of that. But there are these stereotypes that, you're a Muslim, and because as you see in Parliament, they're all, the stereotype is white, male, pale, and stale.
Middle
And you
aged.
don't see much, yeah, and middle-aged, yeah. And even it's like when I went to Parliament, there's not many Muslims at all. I think there was only about three hijabis, including myself. And there is that stereotype, even though people don't directly say it to yourself, it is a known stereotype that Muslims perhaps shouldn't have recognition. They shouldn't be recognized. Their voices shouldn't be heard. And, even, for example, you can get hate. For example, on TikTok, I do a lot of videos and they're like, oh, voting is haram. You shouldn't be doing that, or you're promoting something wrong. And, there are those stereotypes, but it's so, so important to stand out because as a Muslim, we all have a duty to represent our religion in the most just and in the best ways possible. And that's what I try to do every single day. I try to be a role model, and really break those stereotypes because there's no need for them in society at all.
Absolutely. But it's not just representing Islam in a just light or a good light. It's also about following the principles of Islam, because
Absolutely.
one of the things that Islam does say, one of the values that we have is you got to support the land that you live in. You don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? And as long as they're not breaking the law and breaking any of the principles in Islam, then you have to be supportive of that land. Now, if we want change, you got to be part of that change. It's very easy to sit on the sidelines and complain and say, oh, this doesn't get done, that doesn't get done. Well, okay, what have you actually done to participate in effecting that change? Until you've not done that, it's very easy to sit on the sideline and be a backseat passenger. That common phrase of where someone's usually sitting in the back and commenting on how someone's driving. It's easy to be a backseat passenger, and it's quite, it's quite key to affect change. Now, so you're in Parliament, and I'm actually picturing a bunch of young children. Whether you're in Parliament or whether you're sitting at the table with people mature, experienced, and you're having these life-changing decisions, conversations. And you just mentioned something very important. You said not only were there less Muslims, but there were less female Muslims. And whether you wear a scarf or not, whether you wear a hijab or not, practicing Muslims, you're Muslims at the end of the day. But there was only 3 hijabis, and that then to me means there were only 3 females, right?
Yes, yeah.
Correct, right? That just goes to show that there has to be a lot more change in order for females, Muslims, to actually be brought out in the limelight. So what do you feel can be done either by the public, so whether that's schools, young people, local authority, what do you feel needs to be implemented in order for that awareness to be raised so that more people can get involved and more, females, Muslims, men, women, doesn't really matter, but for those people to come in and start being a part of what you were doing?
I think definitely start with the root causes. So I think start it with the young people, promote things in schools like these youth MP opportunities or these political opportunities, because I can't, like, if my teacher did not tell me or inform me about this incredible opportunity, I wouldn't have even been able to step into Parliament. Another thing, I think more Muslim women, and just in general, many people from different diverse backgrounds need to face their fears and become MP themselves, or accept the fact that they're going to face challenges and obstacles throughout their journey. But I just think it's all about stepping out there and realizing how much potential we have. And I think other things that contribute to that, the media, these headlines that we see, I think if that could be eradicated, so much difference can be done, because it can put people off. If I was going to put myself as an MP, there's going to be so many atrocious headlines probably, and it's not to say that religion is a barrier. It's, it's difficult to face these obstacles, but it's so important to face them. And like I said, realize the potential that we all have.
Well, we're constantly living in a hostile environment, especially
We are, yeah.
more so now, and we're always going to come across those stereotypes. But it's for us to break those. It's for us to be able to openly have those conversations. I mean, it was just recently last week, so I don't know if you know this, Leanne, but I ride a motorbike, and I recently did and I recently did a 4-day motorbike trip to the Yorkshire Dales. So from Leicester, a few of us went to Stoke-on-Trent on a Tuesday, and then on a Wednesday we left Stoke, and we went to the Yorkshire Dales, and we rode around about 150 miles each day, and it was just fantastic. There was 8 of us, including our group leader, our tour guide, and there was me and another Muslim in the group, and she's one of 2 Muslim females that I've actually met in the UK, like physically met in the UK, that are Muslim bikers. And I've come across a few more, but we're still all connected on the internet and so on. We're yet to meet up. But it's after 12 years that I've come across other Muslim female bikers, right? But when we were there, of course, the majority of the group were non-Muslim, so they were going to go to places that they prefer eating to. Now, I was being heavily cautious, because of course that's for us to do. They were very respectful of Islam. They were all of different ages, different experiences. One completely did not believe in God, atheist. So she was openly atheist. But she was very respectful of my beliefs. And when I said, no, I can't have it from this menu, I can't have this, I need to go find another shop, they were fine with it, And she actually asked me questions. She was interested. And at one point she even said to me, she goes, the way you're talking about Islam is nothing like I've seen in the media. Those were her words. And of course, it's just another reminder that we are being portrayed very, very differently. And it's for us to openly have these conversations, but it's also for us to be openly active. Now, before I move on to the next question, I'm just going to give a reminder to everyone that this is Ramadan Radio, or Ramadan FM as it's famously also known. We are live on DAB 9B, Facebook, YouTube, and then the podcast will be uploaded to Spotify. It is an interactive show. The studio line is 0116 4822 and you can also text and call in, text and WhatsApp in to 077 488 55055. Now, I unfortunately didn't give this information at the start due to the technical issues, and of course, panic mode sets in when technical issues come in. But if you do want to ask a question to Leanne Hassan, a youth MP at the tender age of 18 from Wigan, which is up north for us, then please do send in a question or text it in or put it on Facebook. And my producer will keep an eye on it. He's currently busy on the phone right now, but I promise you he will keep an eye on it. Okay, so we were talking earlier about you campaigning and being a youth MP and so on. Now, I asked you the question, did you have a support system from family and friends? And you mentioned everyone's been really supportive, given the fact that you're going into politics. How about just people around you, maybe society, culture? Because a lot of things that come up in, like, say, things that I do, the first thing I'll always get from someone is, that's not allowed. But actually, when you break it down, there's nothing in Islam, nothing in the Quran Sharif that actually says, no, that's not allowed. It's that culture. It's that society presumes it's not allowed. So what kind of challenges or what kind of situations did you come across? Or did you actually come across anyone challenging you to say, well, what are you doing? This is not something that you should be doing. Did you ever come across anything like that?
Well, in high school, I'll actually open up about this. I did face criticism from a few people who'd make some really, nasty comments and weren't supportive of me becoming a youth MP. In fact, they didn't want my success. And it was quite heartbreaking, really, because I didn't mention this actually. In high school, I was the only hijabi in my year group. And it was quite a challenge for me because I thought, oh, I bet people will be really supportive and they'll support me. Not that they didn't do, but there was a certain minority who would look down upon me. Um, and like I said, I think it's those stereotypes that you shouldn't be doing this. This is not a place for you. Politics isn't a place for you. So I would say, yeah, I did face criticism.
Okay, so you face the criticism, right? And you're quite young. So for those who are listening out there and who probably want to go into this field but unsure how to, or might want to do something else that can face similar challenges, what did you do to either overcome those or to tackle it head on?
To be honest, I just carried on with my journey. I didn't let it stop me because I was ready to face those criticisms. It did annoy me, but most importantly, it didn't allow me to take a step back. In fact, it made me even more eager to prove them wrong. And I just kept going. I became even more and more successful. And people to this day, they still see what I'm doing. And you're not always going to get that support. They're not always going to comment. They're not always going to like. But I just simply carried on, wanting to prove them wrong, because I think it's incredibly important to face those obstacles because they actually prove to you how much stronger of an individual you are and how much you can do without people's support.
Absolutely. I'm nodding away for those who are tuning in on the radio. I'm actually sitting here nodding away, and those who are my regular listeners and followers will know all about the obstacles that I've faced, and they're probably actually tired of hearing it as well, so I'm not going to bore them again with the same old rhetoric. Okay, so you carried on, as we normally say, put my head down, and we carried on and did what we need to do, and our actions literally speak for itself, the things that we do. Now, you've mentioned a few times senior decision makers. So you had a seat at the table, right? Let's talk a little bit more about the senior decision makers. I take it that was people based in the local authority. Are you able to give us an example of certain job titles that you sat with and you had these conversations with to implement these changes?
Yes. So we've got, for example, I don't know the exact title, but for example, like the head of education in our local authority. She would come to us and tell us, how can we make schools more inclusive? Or we've created such and such a program and we want to hear your views. Another important headline, like people that I'd sit with, was, for example, when I worked with the National Youth Agency, we went to London for a Global Common Youth Conference, and over there were like these global leaders who are senior decision makers, and they'd have really important roles within their countries. And I'd sit down with them, and at that time we were presenting a presentation about the positive impacts of employing young people in the workplace. So these are some of the examples that I've come across.
Okay, so you mentioned you would go, so you'd have these meetings and then you'd go, say, London or whatever. Now, you were 16 at the time, so 16/ across to 18. I take it you were either still in high school and then you moved into college. So did it affect your education at any point? Were you having to take time out of your education to do this?
No, it was just, usually those meetings would take place at around 6 o'clock. But it was incredibly stressful because I'd finish college at around 5 o'clock. I then have to travel into town, or my dad would have to drop me there. It was really stressful, but I just wanted to persist and I really wanted to carry on because, like, I've always wanted to change the world. I've always wanted to make a difference in young people's lives. So I just really, really, really was passionate about it, really persisted.
Stressful, but worth it.
Yes.
Right, no pain, no gain, right? No pain, no gain.
Yeah, no pain, no gain.
So do you feel that becoming a youth MP and having that seat at the table at any point, did you ever feel like you've got imposter syndrome? So for those who are listening, imposter meaning we don't feel like we belong there. We don't feel like we should be at that table with these people making the decisions that we're making. And it's dubbed as imposter syndrome. Did you ever at any point feel like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. Did you ever feel like that?
No, I'd never felt like that. I think with me, it was just about questioning the difference that I was making. I always used to attend those meetings and I just sit with myself and think, am I really making a difference? Am I really implementing important decisions? Because with me, I always strive for perfection, or let's say excellence, the word is. And I always want to perform things to the best of my ability. And when I'm unable to do so for whatever reason, imposter syndrome does hit me really hard because I'm such an overthinker.
Yeah, that can happen. So you mentioned quite a few times that you weren't sure whether you were affecting change and is it making a difference. Are you able to tell us about some of the decisions that you brought to the table or you're part of that did, come to fruition and maybe was implemented? Are you able to talk about what kind of changes you brought into place?
Yes. So obviously, I spoke that I was part of the National Youth Agency, um, and I thought it's really important that I joined that as a youth MP because um, when I was there, we helped assess applications um, to help young people. Um, sorry, can I just give me 10 seconds if that's okay?
That's
Because I
fine.
can't. There's just background noise. We just.
That's fine. I can just do another introduction again. So, due to technical issues, just very quickly to recap, we have Leanne Hassan, Youth MP from Wigan and the tender age of 18. I love saying that word, tender age. We are live on Ramadan Radio, DAB 9B, studio line being 0116 4822 086. Text message on WhatsApp number 077 488 55055. You could tune in on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, and Spotify. So you can send your questions or comments in, or you could telephone live if you choose to. We have about 12 minutes remaining. We have Leanne who has come back to us. I hope she can remember the sentence that she trailed off at because it's completely gone out my brain. But let's welcome Leanne back. Hi.
Yes, sorry about that.
That's fine.
Yes, I said I was part of the National Youth Agency and I joined that as a youth MP and as an employee. And the reason that I did was because we assessed applications regarding young people. It was about, helping improve youth services, providing them essential resources. And obviously, because my campaign was about helping create inclusive spaces, particularly in educational settings, I thought that was perfect. So that's one of the changes I did. And we managed to distribute around 300 million across the UK. Another thing, sorry, there's so much. Obviously, yes, I did an educational, I did an educational promotional video for local head teachers in my area, telling them about how they can make schools more inclusive and diverse. And yes, those are two things. Obviously, I went to Parliament as well, and the speech that I spoke about was standardisation of food and how across the UK we can ensure that every child has access to a nutritious meal, and ensure that every child has access to free school meals. And we can see that many politicians are actually advancing that topic in Parliament and creating a bill. And Ozara Sultana has the MP.
Yeah, I do follow Zara. She's hats off
She's
to her.
incredible.
She's incredible. Yeah. I mean, she's outspoken, fearless. She's one to actually watch and one to actually follow. So, from what you've just said, what I've gleaned from that is you're too hard on yourself, because you literally said not even a few minutes ago that you don't feel like you affected any change. You didn't know whether you made any difference. But then when I asked you, and that was the purpose, there was a reason behind why I asked you, what did you actually do? Was it worth it and so on? From what you've said, the changes you made actually affected not one life, not two lives, but hundreds. So you did actually affect change, but you felt like it was not enough. And I think that's one thing about us, most of us people, and there's no gender in this, it could be man, woman, it could be, Caucasian, Asians, Muslims, Hindus, whoever, most of us who actually want to affect real change and want to make a difference and genuinely want to help people, no matter what we do, we always believe it's never enough. And we're too hard on ourselves. And we push and we push, and it's not until others tell us exactly what it is that we've done that we realize. And I am going to say this, and it might sound cheesy, or if my 15-year-old was here, she'd be like, ew, mum, cringe. But, you've done absolutely amazing at the age that you're at.
Oh, thank you.
And I know many 18-year-olds, a lot of whom are mature, but there's a lot of 18-year-olds that I know, and I'm thinking, how are you even here? And that could be because of their experience, could be access to certain hobbies that they have, whatever it is, could be through no fault of their own. But you've done quite a lot in a very short time, and it's impressive. Now, one of the questions I want to ask you is, on one hand, you've done Youth MP, which is politics. And on the other hand, you've done your A-levels and you did law. Now, as a mentor for students and graduates of university level A-levels, I always advise them never to do A-level law because it is purposely designed to be extremely, extremely hard. It's harder than the degree itself.
Oh, really?
Yes, it really is. And I do think it's designed intentionally to weed out those that might not be able to go ahead and do that law degree, whatever the reason is, right? But law and politics, it's kind of the yin and the yang, but at the same time, you either do politics or you either do law, or you start off doing law and then eventually you go into politics, but you don't mash the two together. How has that worked out so far for you?
You mean like now, like doing it as an A level, or
Yeah, as in, well, you've had a taste of the politics, and now you've had a taste of law. Now, when people tend to prefer politics, actually do politics degree, don't they? And then they're going to say, document writing, or they end up working in the House of Lords or House of Commons and so on. But you don't tend to become a lawyer and then move over into politics unless you're actually going to be doing the legal side, the drafting and so on. So you've had a taste of both at a very young age. So my question really is, and I'll rephrase it, is which one are you preferring more then? The politics or the law?
I can't choose. And that's why I've done a law with, like, I'm going to do a law with politics degree.
Well, that answers that question then. You're not doing a standalone politics degree or a standalone legal degree. You've actually mixed the two together. So that answers that question. Okay, so you've got best of both worlds then. So you've chosen to do that. Okay, so at the age of 14, your teachers told you about this this council element. You've done a campaign. At 14, you knew you wanted to be youth MP, right? Then at age 16, you ran again and you won, and you did that for 2 years, right?
Yes.
At age 18, do you know how you want your career to be shaped? As in, do you know what it is that you're looking to actually go into?
Not necessarily. All I know is that hopefully I'll get the offer, the results to study law with politics at uni, and from there I will decide whether I want to, progress to become a lawyer, or to just straight away go into politics, because I just think both work hand in hand, both link with one another, and both ensure that a difference is made in each and every single person's life. But I think that's just the plan so far.
Okay, all right. Now, I don't even know if I should be asking this question, but I'm gonna take a jump.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna ask, because you're quite young, so you've still got years of experience left. But of course, you've built up some experience and you made connections and so on. Those who are not really into politics and don't like politics and so on, do you feel that you've made, enemies is a very strong word, but do you feel like you've come across people who will absolutely stay away from you, or you've had to sacrifice knowing them, or you feel like you made enemies, or someone's purposely sabotaging something so that you don't move forward? I'm trying to weave out blockages. So, for example, sometimes, and I'll give you the legal world as a main example, there is a huge difference in terms of legal jobs available for those who are not BAME than for those who are BAME, right? Black, Asian, minority, ethnicity. Chances are you've got two people with exactly the same experience, same results, but one will have a non-BAME name on their CV and the other one will have a BAME name. And I guarantee you, at least, I don't know the stats, but I will say majority of the time, the one with the non-BAME name will get that job. Right?
Yes, that is true.
And it's got nothing to, I'll blatantly say, it's got nothing to do with the experience. It's got nothing to do with the results. And we know that's going to happen. So have you ever felt like something similar has happened where you've got those challenges? You're constantly having to fight for that place at the table.
Yeah, I feel like I've not faced like the challenges, but you sense that. I'll give you an example. So when I became a UK BAME leader, one of 40 in the UK, the council decided to put a post on Facebook, and there were some racist comments, quite vile, some of them. And obviously it's only a minority, but yes, sometimes you do have to fight your place at the table.
Absolutely.
And you have to, because like I said, there's just this stereotype that you shouldn't be here. You don't deserve to be in this place. You don't deserve to be recognized. So I do think, yes, sometimes I do have to fight my place. And I remember when I think you said some people may not be bothered about politics. I can really see that. There is many people, I mean, there's so many issues happen across the world. And I just think politics is so important, and people think, oh, it's not important, it doesn't involve me. I think it does. All our life, our jobs all surround politics. The laws that they create concern our lives, and it's so important. You know, I always go out there on Instagram and all my social media platforms and say, you need to be aware about what's happening, because it's affecting you and I. So I do always fight my place. I always have to constantly reiterate what I'm saying to people in order for them to understand the importance of my roles and the importance of politics and the law, because they both govern each other.
It must make for some very interesting dinner table conversations over Eid and something. You might probably come across a lot of challenging conversations. I don't envy you on that one, because I get quite a few when it comes to the legal side, and honestly sometimes I just smile and walk away. I'm like, yeah, okay, you keep to that mindset, you know. Right, we've got about 1 minute and 40 seconds on the clock, so we've come on to the last question, which is, the whole purpose of all of this is to try and raise awareness for what young people can actually do to be part of society, to affect that change, get involved and not sit on the sidelines, and what's available to them, but also those who might feel a bit shy, who might be unsure as to how they should be doing it. You know, here we've got Layan Hassan, an 18-year-old from Wigan, who is a youth MP or former youth MP. So with about a minute on the clock, I'll give you about 30 seconds or so. Do you have any tips for any of our listeners or viewers that can help them overcome any fears or lack of confidence that they may be having, whether it's in this area or any field?
I think the most important thing would be to ignore the stereotypes, break through the glass ceiling, ask questions. If you want to join if you want to form your own campaign, or you've seen something, you've seen a program, join it. Don't ask questions. Sorry, no, I mean, like, don't overthink about it. So ask questions, but don't overthink about it. Just do it, ask questions, and go for it. Achieve your goals. There's no such thing as boundaries, limits. You will face obstacles. You may face hate, but just keep going forward, keep smiling, keep making a difference, and you will become successful. You've just got to believe it, and if you can see it, you can achieve it.
Fantastic. Well, you heard it here. One of my favorite words is the only limit is you. That was Ramadan Radio, Breaking Stereotypes with Layan Hassan. Jazakallah.